Welcome to KR Films Entertainment Channel. I'm about to explain an Indian movie called Bajrangi Bhaijaan. The movie begins with several villagers watching a cricket match in the snowy mountains of Sultanpur village in Pakistan. An expectant mother's baby cakes when the cricket player Shahid scores goals. She jokingly responds Shahid when asked what she will call her son. The infant has now matured into a 6-year-old girl named Shahid Heater. When she is playing with the Sheba, father instructs to go home. She immediately leaves but gets into an accident and rolls down a slope. When she doesn't return home by evening, her parents are worried. The villagers begin searching for her. After hours of searching, they find the little girl on a branch protruding from the hill. She had been stuck on it for the entire day but couldn't call for help because she can't speak. The next morning, her parents and the neighbors discuss what must be done to help her. An older man suggests they take her to a shrine in Delhi, India. He too had that disability before visiting the shrine. The religious family believes that a visit to the holy shrine will restore Shahid his speech. Shahid, his father, says that he served in the military and has fought against the Indian army, so he is sure he won't be able to get visa the India. Hence her mother Razia decides to take her there. Upon reaching the shrine, the two make offerings, pray and board a train to leave and go back to their homeland. On the return journey, the train makes a nighttime stopover for repairs. Later that night, when everyone falls asleep, Shahida sees a lamp stuck in a bit outside the train. She rushes outside to help the animal, but the train restarts before she can return to her mother. The little girl tries to catch up with the train but is eventually left behind. She boards another train in an attempt to urgently follow her mother's route. But to her surprise, it takes the opposite route and stops at Group Shader, India. When Razia discovers her daughter is missing, the train is stopped. Police officers are said to find the girl. However, they cannot find her because the other train has already taken her to a different place. As Rosie's husband arrives, he is concerned about their daughter. The parents have no choice but to pray that their daughter is safe because they are unable to obtain an immediate visa to return to India. Shahid is currently lost in a completely different country. She notices a stranger drinking in a roadside restaurant during a religious celebration. The nice Poling Kumar Chaturvedi is the stranger who offers her to eat a meal with him. After unsuccessfully trying to persuade her to speak and say her name, he realizes she is muting calls or Muni. Muni, who is starving, eats everything and then follows Pollen. Supposing that she had been separated from her parents during the celebrations, he advises her to remain in front of a shrine so that she can be found there by her parents. Howling boards a bus. Through the window, he sees that Mani is still following him. So he takes her to the police station. Since she is unable to provide any information about her parents, the police can only wait for someone to report him missing child. Muni needs a place to stay while her parents are being searched. For the sake of her safety, Pollen takes her to where he lives. On his way to his home in Delhi, you start naming different Indian cities, asking her to note if she knows what city her parents are in. All the passengers on the bus help him, but she nods to none of the cities. Little did they know that she is from Pakistan. As they talk, a passenger who comes from the same home city as Paul and asked him why he came to Delhi. Firstly, he tells them his name, then his nickname Bajrangi, before answering that he came for a job. The flashback shows when he was a young kid where he succeeded in nothing, not in school nor in wrestling. Then we are shown the time he was in high school. He could never pass the final exam. All his friends cheated and proceeded with their lives, but Howen refused to cheat or lie. So he was a disappointment to his father. After failing 10 times, he eventually passed on his 11th try. On informing his father, he passes away due to shock. Before he died, he told Pollen to go to his friend Dion's house in Delhi and look for a job. How he needs Razikar on a bus in Delhi, where he insists they divide the tickets change. She tries to push him away but finds him inside her house giving her father wrestling tips. Resicott believes that he came there to harass her, but it turns out that her father is Dinah, therefore Palin has been invited to stay with them. How and was offered a job at the school where Diet Ad's daughter Razakar taught. Over time they both fall in love and Razakar rejects an arranged marriage proposal, choosing to marry Palin. However, Dinah asked how to build his own house before marrying his daughter. He tells the passengers in few months he will arrange for the money and rent a house. His story captures the attention of everyone on the bus. When he and Munir arrive at his house, Resicott sees them at the door. She is delighted that Palin is assisting a small girl in need. Vijayendra doesn't feel the same. The possibility that Munir practices a different religion worries him. Because of her pale skin, Palin thinks that she is Hindu and convinces Dinah to let her stay for a month. Though Palin and Resicott treat Munir like their own daughter, she weeps for her parents every day. Munir rarely finishes her meals because the entire family is vegetarian. She's used to consuming meat with every meal. She goes to the neighbor's house after smelling the aroma of meat there. She is found by Palin and Resicott eating chicken in the Muslim neighbor's house. Even though eating meat is against his religion, Palin takes her to a restaurant that night and allows her to eat whatever she wants. Munir is very fond of bangles they sell on roadside. One day while walking down the street, she innocently picks up a pack of bangles before being stopped by the vendor. Falling makes her return it and takes her to the temple to apologize to God for stealing. Munir enters a neighboring mosque secretly as he is teaching her on how to join her hands while praying. Although Palin hesitates, he follows her inside. He is totally shocked when he witnesses her wearing a headscarf and reciting some Islamic. He believes she betrayed him since he would never have kept in touch with a Muslim. Razakar, however, reveals to him that before being Muslim she is a child. She wants him to be different because she despises the way her father treats people differently based on their religion. Define Munir. They both enter the mosque, but she has already left. As he will really looks for her, she runs to him and hugs him tightly. At that moment he accepts her entirely and regrets why he thought such a small girl would betray him. That night the whole family is watching a cricket match between India and Pakistan. Everyone is supporting India except Munir, who supports Pakistan. When the Pakistani team wins the game, she dances and kisses their flag through TV. She is approached by Palin, who asks her if she is from Pakistan. Finally Munir nods happily. Dinah is angry. It was bad enough that she was a Muslim, but now that the girl is from Pakistan, you must prohibited from staying there. How and Dinah and vows to hand her over to the Pakistani embassy the next day. Unfortunately, the embassy employee is unable to grant her a visa in the absence of a passport. In Munir's situation of these allocation is difficult because they don't even know her real name. Additionally, a protest outside the embassy shuts down all these of processing for a month. The following day Palin unwillingly brings Munir to the travel agency and then departs after beating her goodbye in tears. He sees a street vendor selling bangles as he makes his way home. He purchases one for Munir because he recalls that she loves them. When he went back to the travel agent's office, it was shut, so he followed them and discovered that he had been seen. The agent is preparing to sell the young girl into prostitution after taking her to a brothel. As Palin sees the agent counting the money he received from selling Munir, he becomes furious. He starts to fight, during which he throws the agent out the window. He takes money with him and has decided to search for Munir's home on his own. He travels to the border even though he has no contacts or knowledge of the villagers in Pakistan. A few kilometers from the border they end up meeting Ali, a secret agent who uses a tunnel to smuggle people across the border illegally. After hearing Gooni's story, he decides to help them at no cost. Ali flees when they get to Pakistan's side of the border. Being a God-fearing person, is determined that he must request the guards for permission before leaving. When the police find him, they ask him how he reached there and he tells them of the tunnel. He also tells them why he is there. The guards get rid of the tunnel and they beat him while Munir watches and sobs. To prevent the young girl from being terrified of On makes an effort to smile while being beaten. The head soldier asks him to do anything he likes in the next 10 minutes before they return for the next round. Since they still haven't given him permission, Vaughn decides to wait for them. He's beating once again before the troops eventually allow him to leave. The following day he and Mooney are in a restaurant. Mooney sees the cop's handcuffs and steals it. The cop finds it after searching their bags and throws been in jail, labeling him as an Indian spy because of the lack of a passport. John Noon, a struggling journalist, is introduced us. When he learns about the suspected spy, he rushes to the police station to interview him. A police officer questions Bin inside the police station that does not take anything he says seriously. When Mooney unexpectedly finds a calendar with an image of mountains, she tries to tell Bonded as her home. But one is happy until the furious policeman questions Mooney about why she is unable to speak in when he attempts to force her to do so. For one gets angry and beats them. He succeeds in overpowering the officers and fleeing the police station. When no one notices him escaping, he follows him. John informs the police on his phone that they got on a bus. Vaughn shows the conductor the calendar and also tells him Mooney's story. John and the other passengers decide to assist him after learning that he is actually a wonderful person. As the cops come hunting for them, they hide Mooney Chandanim on the roof of the bus. At night, Chance of On and Mooney stay at a mosque. They are waking up by the laughter of the children. A religious teacher named Desire also helps them and hides them from the policemen searching the entire city for the suspected spy. They asked the children if they know the place on the calendar. One of his odd students sees Switzerland written on the picture that Mooney thought was her village. During this time, the police capture Camille Chan's cameraman after he tried to run away. In order to send off On Inchon from the city without the police noticing, Asad disguises them in burqas. Though he apologizes to his god, he is willing to sacrifice anything for Mooney. They manage to take a ride with a police officer pretending to help him fix his car. They claim to be locals visiting an elderly relative. John records everything about Mooney and Provence's journey. He tries to sell the report the news stations, but they won't air it because they say such a story won't attract many audience. They visit a well-known mosque one day and discover a police officer searching for the bear. John realizes that the police are using his cameraman to obtain information about their location. In an effort to confuse the police, the group immediately flees the sacred site and provides the cameraman false information. Later that day, as they are reviewing the recordings from their stay at the mosque, Mooney spots her mother in one of the clips. They see her getting into a specific bus and go to the bus driver the very next day. When asked, he lists all the villages he takes his passengers to. One of them is Still Time, for which Mooney confirms as her home. John the Vaughn hug, having finally found their Mooney's village. Giant also uploads the video documentary on YouTube, and the police get a hint of their location through it. The bus stops on the route the Sultan for because some officers are conducting a search. Without a way out, Vaughn approaches the cops and acts as if he is fleeing. John snatches Mooney and brings her back to her village while the men are busy trying to capture him. Finally, the moment we have all been waiting for comes, where Mooney runs to her mother, who was shedding tears of joy. As she reunites with her family somewhere else, Vaughn gets beaten up by the police. Once the video on YouTube becomes popular, news stations begin to report on the topic. The citizens eventually learned that he is being detained in jail for assisting a young girl and is not a spy. People in Pakistan and India are completely supporting him. Nevertheless, the Pakistani police officers won't allow him go. In jail, they beat him mercilessly for hours. Then Child releases another video, this time on a larger platform, pleading with people to assemble at the border to make sure that Vaughn returns home with a problem. This strategy is successful as large numbers of individuals from both sides come to the border. Rashia and her family are also there to take their beloved one back home. Finally, the officials have gave up and they release him. John sees Vaughn, he runs to him and tells him that Mooney has finally found her parents. He also tells him her real name is Shihita. Levon is overjoyed and they hug vitally. Noof asks him to come back to Pakistan and visit them, but only with visa. The border guard won't open the gate. He suggests that this might happen if the people take control. So the Pakistanis run in large amounts to open the gate. As the one crosses the border, the crowd began shouting and praising his name. After that, Munir appears amongst the crowd. She runs towards the fence waving her hands but unable to call him. She miraculously regains her voice and the crowd falls silent as soon as she shouts uncle in disbelief. Afon turns around and is overjoyed to see her. The movie ends as they run to each other and needed the middle of the border. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to Movie Retail for more videos like this.